The rhythmic whisper of tires on asphalt was the only soundtrack to Elara's new life. It had been a long drive, a journey not just across states, but across the chasm of her past self to the burgeoning woman she was becoming. Each mile marker had been a tiny victory, a shedding of old skin, a step closer to the freedom she craved. Now, the small, picturesque town of Willow Creek was her haven, a place where no one knew the old her, a canvas upon which she could paint her truest self. She spent her first few days in a haze of joyful exploration. The quaint main street with its independent bookstores and artisanal coffee shops, the sprawling community garden bursting with summer blooms, the gentle river winding its way through the valley, each discovery felt like a personal gift. She reveled in the simple act of existing, of walking down a street in a flowing sundress she adored, feeling the soft fabric against her skin, the breeze a gentle caress. It was a stark, beautiful contrast to the constrained life she'd meticulously left behind. The floral scent of blooming honeysuckle that hung heavy in the air, the distant chirping of crickets, the golden hues of the setting sun, it all felt like a welcoming embrace. One late afternoon, Elara decided to take a longer stroll, letting her feet guide her without a map or a destination. She wore a light, breezy maxi dress in a soft coral, a recent acquisition that made her feel both elegant and effortlessly feminine. Her newly styled hair, a cascade of soft auburn waves, bounced gently with each step. As she rounded the corner onto her own street, a street that was still more concept than home, her gaze landed on a figure standing in front of the house next door, currently sporting a "for sale" sign. He was tall, with an athletic build that spoke of an active lifestyle, and a casual grace that belied his broad shoulders. His dark, slightly tousled hair caught the last rays of sunlight, giving it a burnished glow. He was intently examining the sign, a thoughtful frown creasing his brow. Elara's heart gave an unexpected flutter. This was her first potential interaction with a local, not just as a new resident, but as Elara. A flicker of anxiety, an echo of old fears, tightened in her chest, but it was quickly overshadowed by a surge of curious anticipation. Taking a deep, grounding breath, she approached, her footsteps soft on the pavement, yet audible enough to draw his attention. He turned, a friendly, easy smile immediately lighting up his face, banishing the earlier frown. His eyes, the color of warm honey, met hers, and Elara felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her. "Hi there," he said, his voice a low, pleasant rumble. "You must be the new neighbor. I'm Liam." He extended a hand, his grip firm but gentle as Elara tentatively shook it. Elara's mind raced, a mix of practiced composure and genuine excitement. "That's right," she managed, her voice a little softer than usual. "I'm Elara. Just moved in last week." Liam's smile widened, crinkling the corners of his eyes. "Welcome to Willow Creek, Elara. I live a few houses down. Saw the sign go up next door and thought I'd come check out who was moving into the neighborhood." Elara tucked a strand of her auburn hair behind her ear, a nervous habit she was still trying to break, yet it felt natural in this moment. "It's nice to meet you, Liam. I'm still getting my bearings around here, honestly. Every day is a new adventure." Liam chuckled, a genuinely warm sound. "Well, if you'd like a tour guide, I'd be happy to show you around. This town's got some hidden gems that the tourist brochures definitely don't mention." His gaze held hers, open and inviting. The offer caught Elara delightfully off guard. She hesitated, a fleeting internal debate between her ingrained caution and a powerful desire for connection, for friendship, for something real. The loneliness of her initial days had been a comfortable solitude, but a friendly face, a local guide, was an undeniably appealing prospect. Finally, a genuine smile blossomed on her face. "That would be lovely, actually," she admitted, her voice infused with a hint of relief and eagerness. "I could certainly use a friendly face and some insider tips." "Great." Liam's enthusiasm was infectious. "How about we start now? There's a beautiful forest trail not far from here that's perfect for an evening walk. We might even catch the last of the sunset through the trees." Elara glanced down at her coral maxi dress and strappy sandals. Not exactly ideal hiking attire. But the thought of extending this pleasant encounter, of spending more time in Liam's easy company, was too compelling to resist. Sounds perfect, she agreed. Just let me change into something a bit more trail appropriate. Give me 5 minutes. Take your time, Liam replied, leaning casually against the for sale signpost, his smile unwavering. I'll be right here. 5 minutes later, Elara emerged, feeling a fresh wave of confidence. She'd changed into a pair of comfortable, well-fitting jeans and a loose, flowing blouse in a soft cream color. She'd also quickly reapplied a touch of lip gloss and ensured her eyeliner was perfect, small rituals that were still new, but increasingly essential to her sense of self. Liam pushed himself off the signpost, his eyes lighting up as she approached. Ready for an adventure, Elara? He asked, his voice filled with an undeniable warmth that made her heart flutter once more. They set off down the street, the late afternoon sun casting long, playful shadows ahead of them. Liam, true to his word, became an instant, engaging tour guide. He pointed out the historic clock tower that marked the original town square, shared anecdotes about the eccentric mayor who had once tried to ban all lawn gnomes, and highlighted the best spots for stargazing. Elara found herself relaxing effortlessly in his company. The last vestiges of her initial nervousness melted away, replaced by a genuine sense of ease and lightheartedness. Liam had a way of speaking that was both informative and utterly unpretentious, making every detail about Willow Creek feel like a fascinating secret being shared just with her. The forest trail Liam had promised was everything and more. Towering, ancient trees formed a majestic canopy overhead, dappling the winding path with shifting patches of golden sunlight. The air grew cooler, richer, filled with the earthy scent of damp pine needles and the sweet, delicate perfume of unseen wild magnolias. Birdsong, vibrant and varied, echoed from the dense foliage, creating a natural symphony. This is beautiful, Liam, Elara breathed, stopping to take in the serene scenery, a soft smile gracing her lips. I had no idea this was even here. It's like stepping into another world. Liam grinned, clearly pleased by her reaction. It's one of my favorite spots in Willow Creek. Not many people know about it, or at least, not many take the time to really explore it, so it's usually pretty quiet. Perfect for clearing your head or just enjoying some peace. He led her off the main path onto a narrower, less trodden track, the moss underfoot soft and springy. As they walked deeper into the woods, conversation flowed as easily as the gentle breeze rustling through the leaves. Liam spoke of his work as a graphic designer, his passion for clean aesthetics, and his occasional forays into abstract painting, which he sheepishly admitted were usually too messy for his own critical eye. Elara, in turn, found herself opening up, sharing her deep-seated passion for photography. She spoke of capturing fleeting moments, of finding beauty in the mundane, of the joy of framing a shot just right. She carefully, almost instinctively, omitted any details about why she had picked up a camera in the first place, or the life that had preceded her arrival in Willow Creek. Her past remained a carefully guarded secret, a sensitive topic she wasn't ready to expose, not yet. They emerged from the deepest part of the forest into a sun-drenched clearing. In the center stood an old bandstand, its white paint peeling in places, but still undeniably charming, a testament to decades of community gatherings. The wooden steps creaked faintly as Liam led the way up, offering Elara a steadying hand as she ascended. This place has been here for decades, he explained, leaning against one of the ornate pillars, his gaze sweeping over the clearing. They used to have concerts here every summer, local bands, community choirs, even some traveling acts. It was a real hub of activity back then. Elara ran her hand along the weathered railing, the wood smooth beneath her fingers. She closed her eyes for a moment, imagining the joyful sounds, the laughter, the music that had once filled this space. It's a shame they don't use it anymore, she murmured. It's got so much character, so much history. It feels like a story waiting to be told. Liam nodded in thoughtful agreement. I know, right? I've always thought it's a wasted opportunity. Maybe, he mused, turning to face her, his eyes sparkling with a new idea, Maybe we could start a petition to bring back the concerts. It'd be a great way for you to meet more people in town and for the bandstand to come alive again." The casual "we" didn't escape Elara's notice, and a warm, fuzzy feeling spread through her chest. The idea of undertaking a project with Liam, of becoming intertwined in the fabric of Willow Creek life, felt incredibly appealing. She was about to respond, her smile growing wider, when her stomach, seemingly oblivious to the budding romance of the moment, let out an embarrassingly loud, prolonged growl. Liam laughed, the sound rich and genuine, echoing lightly in the quiet clearing. "Sounds like someone's hungry," he observed, a playful twinkle in his eye. "How about we head back and grab some dinner? There's a great little diner just off Main Street, or I could even attempt to cook something." Elara felt her cheeks flush, a pleasant warmth spreading through them. "That sounds great, actually," she admitted. "Though, full disclosure, I haven't really had a chance to stock up my kitchen yet. It's mostly just coffee and cereal at the moment." "No worries at all," Liam replied easily, pushing himself off the pillar. "I make a mean pasta dish if you're up for it. We could stop by the grocery store on the way back and pick up some ingredients. I'd be happy to cook for you, a proper welcome to the neighborhood meal." The offer, so simple yet so generous, took Elara by surprise. She hesitated for a moment, weighing the invitation. On one hand, she was still cautious about letting people into her personal space, especially so soon. The idea of inviting a relative stranger into her home, even one as charming as Liam, usually triggered a surge of protective instinct. On the other hand, the thought of spending more time with Liam, of sharing a meal, of simply enjoying his company, was incredibly, undeniably appealing. His genuine warmth was like a balm, soothing the cautious edges of her heart. "That's very kind of you," she said, finally, her voice soft. "Are you sure it's not too much trouble?" Liam's smile was warm and reassuring, erasing any lingering doubt. "Not at all, Elara. Consider it a proper welcome to the neighborhood and a chance to escape cereal for one night at least." With that settled, they made their way back through the darkening forest, the conversation flowing easily between them once more, now punctuated by plans for dinner. As they walked, Elara found herself stealing glances at Liam, admiring the way the dappled moonlight now played across his strong features, the easy confidence in his stride. The evening had taken an unexpected, delightful turn, and Elara, for the first time in a long while, felt a thrill of anticipation for what lay ahead. As she watched them, her mind wandered back over the evening, Liam's easy smile, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed, the gentle touch of his hand as he'd helped her up the bandstand steps, the shared laughter over the rogue cats. Elara shook her head gently, trying to temper her growing feelings. It was too soon, too complicated. She hadn't told Liam about her past, about who she used to be. The thought of having that conversation, of laying bare her truth, filled her with a familiar dread. But as she got ready for bed that night, Elara couldn't shake the warmth that had settled in her chest. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged, like she had a future to look forward to, a future that held the promise of connection. Saturday couldn't come soon enough. Back in Willow Creek, the transition from the hushed embrace of the forest to the gentle hum of the town felt seamless. They made a quick stop at the local grocery store, a small, friendly establishment where the aisles were quiet and the fluorescent lights cast a soft glow. Elara found herself enjoying the mundane task of grocery shopping, transformed by Liam's easygoing presence. They wandered the aisles together, a comfortable rhythm developing as they picked out ingredients for dinner. Liam, with a mischievous glint in his eye, grabbed a bottle of local Merlot, winking at Elara as he placed it in the cart. "To celebrate new beginnings," he declared, his voice a warm murmur. Back at Elara's house, she gave Liam a brief tour. Her new home was still sparsely decorated, a reflection of her recent move and her desire for a fresh, uncluttered start. It felt open, airy, and full of potential. Liam appreciated the clean lines and the sunlight streaming in through the large windows, commenting on the potential for her photography with such natural light. Soon, they settled into the heart of the home, the kitchen. Liam moved with a confident, almost professional grace around the unfamiliar space. He pulled out chopping boards, located pans, and started rhythmically dicing vegetables. Elara watched, mesmerized by his efficiency and the calm focus he brought to the task. The kitchen, usually a quiet, solitary space for her, suddenly felt vibrant and alive with his presence. "I hope you like garlic," Liam said, without looking up, expertly mincing several cloves. "It's kind of my secret weapon in cooking. Along with a good quality olive oil, of course." Elara leaned against the counter, inhaling the aromatic scents that were already beginning to fill the kitchen. The sharpness of garlic, the sweetness of bell peppers, the earthy undertones of mushrooms. "I love it," she confessed, a genuine smile spreading across her face. "This smells amazing already." As Liam continued to orchestrate his culinary magic, Elara took on the role of setting the table. She carefully arranged plates and silverware, her movements precise and thoughtful. Then, on a whim, she lit a few tea-light candles she'd found in a box of unpacked items, placing them strategically around the small dining table. Immediately, she wondered if it was too much, if it made the dinner seem overly intimate. Before she could second-guess herself and blow them out, Liam emerged from the kitchen, a steaming bowl of fragrant pasta in his hands. "Wow," he said, taking in the soft, candlelit scene, a genuine surprise in his honey-colored eyes. "You didn't have to go to all this trouble, Elara. But it's really lovely." Elara felt her cheeks warm, a pleasant blush spreading across them. "It's nothing, really," she demurred, a shy smile playing on her lips. "Just wanted to make it nice. For a proper welcome." They settled in to eat, the soft glow of the candles casting dancing shadows on the walls. The pasta, rich with garlic, fresh herbs, and a savory tomato sauce, was even better than it smelled. Conversation flowed easily, punctuated by satisfied sighs and appreciative murmurs about the food. Liam shared stories about his quirky clients and the challenges of balancing creativity with commercial demands. Elara, emboldened by the wine and the comfortable atmosphere, recounted amusing anecdotes from her travels, carefully skirting any personal details that might reveal too much. She found herself laughing more freely, more genuinely, than she had in months. For the first time since her transition, she felt truly at ease, not just accepted, but seen and appreciated for the woman she was presenting herself to be. As the evening wore on, they moved from the dining table to the living room, settling onto the plush couch with their wine glasses. Elara tucked her legs underneath her, acutely aware of the comfortable proximity between them, the subtle scent of Liam's cologne, a sophisticated, woodsy aroma that made her head spin just a little. "So, Elara," Liam began, his voice soft in the dim light, "what brought you to our little town, if you don't mind me asking?" His gaze was gentle, curious, but devoid of any intrusive intent. Elara took a slow sip of wine, buying herself a precious moment to think. This was it, the question she'd been dreading yet also anticipating. She knew she had to be careful, to craft an answer that was truthful in spirit, without revealing the raw, vulnerable core of her past. "I needed a fresh start," she said finally, her voice a little softer than before. "My old life, it just didn't fit anymore. I needed a place where I could grow into myself, without the weight of expectations or history." Liam nodded slowly, his expression understanding, devoid of judgment. "I get that," he murmured. "Sometimes you have to reinvent yourself, peel back the layers, to find out who you truly are and what makes you happy." His words hit close to home, resonating with a profound accuracy that made a lump form in Elara's throat. She took another sip of wine, using the excuse to cover the sudden swell of emotion. "Exactly," she managed, her voice steadier now. "And what about you, Liam? Have you always lived here in Willow Creek?" Liam shook his head, a wry smile playing on his lips. "Nah, I moved here about 5 years ago myself. Needed my own fresh start after a particularly bad breakup. Willow Creek seemed like a good place to heal and rebuild." Their eyes met across the soft glow of the candles, and Elara felt a distinct spark of connection, a shared understanding of what it meant to leave one life behind and brave the uncertainty of a new beginning. Here was someone else who understood the weight of the past and the courage it took to start over. The tender moment, however, was abruptly shattered by a sudden, jarring crash from outside, followed almost immediately by the piercing wail of a car alarm. Elara jumped, nearly spilling her wine, her heart lurching into her throat. Liam was on his feet in an instant, moving swiftly to the window, peering out into the darkness. "It's okay," he said, a relieved chuckle escaping him. "Looks like a couple of cats knocked over a trash can and set off someone's car alarm." Classic Willow Creek. Elara joined him at the window, her heart still racing, but the adrenaline quickly giving way to amusement. Sure enough, she could just make out the shadowy shapes of two cats, now scattering away from the scene of the crime, their mission of midnight mischief accomplished. They looked at each other, the tension of the moment completely evaporated, and burst out laughing, a shared, unrestrained peal of mirth that filled the living room. As their laughter subsided, Elara suddenly realized how close they were standing. She could still smell his cologne, feel the subtle warmth emanating from him. Her gaze drifted to his lips for a brief, electric moment before he seemed to realize the proximity too. He took a subtle step back, clearing his throat. "I should probably get going," he said, his voice a touch husky now, the earlier ease replaced by a hint of something more potent. "It's getting pretty late." Elara nodded, trying to ignore the surprising pang of disappointment that echoed in her chest. "Of course," she managed, her voice a little breathy. "Thank you for dinner, Liam. And for showing me around. I truly had a wonderful time." They moved towards the front door, a subtle, awkward energy settling between them, a silent acknowledgement of the shift in atmosphere. Liam hesitated on the threshold, his hand on the doorknob, looking like he wanted to say something more, his honey-colored eyes searching hers. "Listen," he finally said, his voice low, "there's a farmer's market in town on Saturday mornings. It's a really great scene. Would you like to go? I could show you around, introduce you to some more people." Elara's heart, which had felt a little heavy a moment before, suddenly leaped with renewed hope and excitement. "I'd love that," she said, a wide, genuine smile blooming on her face, unable to keep the joy from her voice. Liam's answering grin was brilliant, radiating warmth. "Great. I'll pick you up at 9. "Perfect," Elara replied, her voice soft, as she watched Liam walk down the path to the street, his silhouette strong against the faint glow of the streetlights. Closing the door, Elara leaned against it, letting out a long, slow breath. Her gaze fell on her reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman who looked back at her was flushed, eyes bright with excitement and a touch of hopeful wonder. It was a far cry from the person she'd been just a few months ago. She made her way back to the living room, gathering the empty wine glasses and taking them to the kitchen. The next few days passed in a blur of anticipation and a familiar flutter of nervousness for Elara. She found herself constantly checking her phone, half hoping for a message from Liam, half afraid he might cancel their plans. Each sunrise brought a fresh wave of excitement, tinged with the persistent whisper of anxiety about her secret. She spent hours planning her outfit, a ritual that had become both a joy and a silent battle against old insecurities. When Saturday morning finally arrived, Elara was awake before dawn, the first rays of sunlight barely kissing the horizon. She fretted over every detail, trying on several dresses before finally settling on a breezy sundress in a soft, sky blue hue that beautifully complemented her auburn hair and brought out the sparkle in her eyes. She paired it with comfortable, espadrille sandals, practical for walking, yet still stylish. A touch of light makeup, a spritz of her favorite floral perfume, and she felt ready. Not just for a farmer's market, but for whatever the day might bring. Precisely at 9 o'clock, a polite knock echoed at her door. Elara took a deep, steadying breath, smoothed down her dress one last time, and opened it to find Liam standing there. He looked casually handsome, radiating an easy charm in a pair of well-fitting jeans and a light linen button-down shirt, the sleeves rolled up to just below his elbows. "Good morning, Elara," he said, his smile as warm and inviting as the morning sun. His gaze swept over her, a subtle appreciation in his eyes that made her heart skip a beat. Ready to experience the best farmers market this side of the state line? Elara laughed, a light, joyful sound, her lingering nervousness finally dissipating. Lead the way, O wise tour guide. I'm entirely at your mercy. The farmers market in Willow Creek was a bustling, vibrant hive of activity. The town square was transformed, alive with a kaleidoscope of colorful stalls offering everything imaginable: mountains of fresh, locally grown produce, intricate handmade crafts, fragrant bouquets of wildflowers, and artisanal cheeses. The air was a delightful medley of mingled scents: the wholesome aroma of fresh-baked bread, the sweet perfume of ripe berries, the earthy pungency of fresh herbs, and the delicate fragrance of blooming flowers. Laughter and cheerful chatter filled the air, creating a lively, welcoming cacophony. Liam, ever the attentive guide, navigated them skillfully through the friendly crowds. His hand occasionally brushed against the small of Elara's back as he steered her around a particularly busy stall, each accidental touch sending a thrilling jolt through her. She tried to focus on the sights and sounds around them: the vibrant displays of heirloom tomatoes, the melodic strumming of a street musician, the lively bartering between vendors and customers. But a significant part of her awareness was always attuned to Liam's presence beside her. "Mrs. Henderson," Liam called out, his voice cutting through the market hum as he waved to an elderly woman meticulously arranging a stall overflowing with vibrant, freshly cut flowers. "I'd like you to meet someone." Mrs. Henderson, a woman with kind, crinkled eyes that peered at Elara over the top of her spectacles, offered a wide, welcoming smile. "Well, aren't you a lovely thing?" she said, her voice soft but clear, reaching out to pat Elara's hand with a gentle warmth. "New to town, dear?" Elara nodded, genuinely touched by the woman's immediate kindness. "Yes, I just moved in last week. Your flowers are truly beautiful." "Thank you, dear. Welcome to Willow Creek." Mrs. Henderson then, without a moment's hesitation, plucked a delicate purple bloom from a nearby bucket, its petals still dewy. "Here," she offered, pressing it into Elara's hand. "A welcome gift. May it bring you joy in your new home." Elara accepted the flower, her heart swelling with emotion. It was a simple gesture, but one that spoke volumes about the warmth of this community. As they moved on, she caught Liam watching her, a soft, almost tender expression on his face that made her blush faintly. They continued their tour through the market, Liam introducing Elara to what seemed like half the town. There was Martha, the jovial baker with flour dusting her apron, who insisted Elara try a sample of her famous apple turnover. There was old Mr. Chin, whose weather-beaten hands crafted exquisite wooden carvings. Each interaction, each genuine smile and handshake, left Elara feeling more and more at home, more accepted, in a way she'd never experienced before. It was a stark contrast to the guarded anonymity she had once sought, and a welcome change. As the morning wore on, they found themselves at a stall selling fresh-baked pastries, the sweet, buttery smell intoxicating. Elara's stomach, ever the practical one, growled audibly. Liam chuckled, a warm, resonant sound. "Hungry? My treat." Before Elara could protest, he'd already bought them each a flaky, fruit-filled pastry, a blueberry scone for him, a cherry tart for her. They found a quiet bench at the edge of the square, shaded by a sprawling oak tree, to sit and enjoy their treats. The vibrant energy of the market buzzed around them, a comforting background hum. "So, Elara," Liam said, between bites of his scone, "what do you think of our little town so far? Beyond the obvious charm of Martha's baking, of course." Elara looked out over the bustling market, watching families stroll by, children laughing, vendors calling out their wares. A profound sense of contentment washed over her, a feeling of belonging she hadn't dared to hope for. "It's wonderful," she said softly, her gaze meeting his. "Everyone's so friendly, so genuinely welcoming. I've truly never felt so at home before." Liam's expression grew serious, his honey-colored eyes holding hers with an intense, quiet sincerity. "I'm glad to hear that, Elara. You deserve to feel welcome. You deserve to feel at home." There was something in his tone, a depth of feeling, that made Elara's heart skip a beat. She turned fully to face him, finding his eyes already on her. For a moment, the cheerful chaos of the market faded away, and it was just the two of them, suspended in a bubble of unspoken understanding. Liam reached out, his fingers gently brushing a stray strand of auburn hair from Elara's face, his touch light and tender. His touch lingered, a spark of electricity passing between them, and Elara found herself instinctively leaning into it, almost unconsciously seeking the warmth of his hand. "Elara," Liam began, his voice low, a little husky, "I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I—" He was cut off abruptly by a sudden, frantic commotion nearby. A small, yappy terrier had broken free from its owner's grasp and was now tearing through the market, a furry blur of excited chaos, appending a display of artisanal soaps and scattering fresh produce in its wake. The spell was broken. Elara and Liam jumped to their feet, their earlier moment of intimacy instantly forgotten in the face of the unfolding market pandemonium. Without a second thought, Elara darted after the runaway dog, her long legs surprisingly swift as she navigated the suddenly chaotic market aisles. Her years of being acutely aware of her surroundings, of observing and anticipating, now served an unexpected purpose. She moved with a fluid grace, avoiding startled shoppers and overturned baskets, her eyes fixed on the frantic terrier. Liam, a step behind her, watched in admiration, impressed by her agility and quick response. Elara managed to corner the pup near a brightly colored flower stall, its tiny body trembling with a mix of fear and exhilaration. She knelt down, speaking in a soft, calming voice, her movements slow and non-threatening. "It's okay, sweetie," she cooed, slowly extending a gentle hand, palm open. "No one's going to hurt you. Just a little adventure, huh?" The dog, a scruffy terrier mixed with wide, dark eyes, whined softly, its tail giving a tentative, almost imperceptible wag. After a moment, it cautiously nudged its wet nose into Elara's outstretched palm, then allowed her to slip a hand gently under its collar. Just then, its frantic owner, a flustered woman with a bright red face, arrived, panting and profusely thanking Elara as she gratefully took back her wayward pup. As the excitement died down and the market slowly returned to its bustling rhythm, Elara turned to find Liam watching her, an unreadable expression on his face. There was admiration, certainly, but something deeper too, something that made her heart quicken. "That was impressive, Elara," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You've definitely got away with animals." Like a dog whisperer. Elara shrugged, a little self-conscious now, tucking a stray curl behind her ear. "I've always loved dogs," she admitted, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Had a few growing up. They just understand." They spent the remainder of the morning exploring the market, their earlier moment of intimacy seemingly forgotten, replaced by a comfortable, shared energy. They sampled local honey, admired handmade pottery, and chatted with more friendly vendors. The incident with the dog had, in a strange way, deepened their connection, revealing another facet of Elara's character that Liam found utterly endearing. As they were about to leave the market, their arms laden with a few choice purchases, Liam suddenly stopped, his eyes lighting up with an idea. "I almost forgot," he exclaimed. "There's one more place I wanted to show you, Elara. Especially after your impressive animal rescue." He led her to the edge of town, a short walk from the bustling square, where a small, unassuming building stood. A weathered wooden sign, slightly faded by sun and rain, proclaimed it to be the Willow Creek Animal Shelter and Rescue. "I volunteer here sometimes," Liam explained as they entered, the interior quiet and clean, with a faint, comforting scent of disinfectant and warm fur. "Walk dogs, clean kennels, help with adoptions. I thought you might like to meet some of the residents." The next hour was a blur of wagging tails, wet noses, and happy barks. Elara found herself laughing more genuinely, more freely, than she had in years as she played with the shelter dogs, throwing balls and receiving enthusiastic licks. Her innate empathy seemed to extend effortlessly to the animals, and they responded to her with an unreserved affection. Liam watched her, a soft, unwavering smile on his face, clearly captivated by her radiant joy. As they were preparing to leave, a small black and white cat huddled in the corner of its cage caught Elara's attention. Its green eyes were wide with a deep, almost paralyzing fear, and it shrank back even further as Elara cautiously approached. "That's Oreo, the shelter worker," a kind-faced woman named Brenda explained softly, noticing Elara's gaze. "She's been here for months. Too shy for most people. Hides whenever anyone comes near her cage. We've tried everything." Elara felt her heart go out to the frightened feline. She knelt down, her voice a gentle murmur, instinctively projecting calm and safety. "It's okay, Oreo," she whispered, slowly extending a hand, keeping it still. "No one's going to hurt you, sweetie. Just saying hello." To everyone's surprise, especially Brenda's, Oreo slowly, hesitantly, crept forward. Its tiny nose twitched, sniffing at Elara's outstretched fingers. After a moment, the small cat bumped its head against her hand, a low, rumbling purr, fragile yet distinct, emanating from its tiny chest. "Well, I'll be," Brenda exclaimed, truly amazed. "That's the first time she's approached anyone voluntarily. Ever." Elara looked up at Liam, her eyes shining, a silent question passing between them. "Can we?" she mouthed, a hopeful plea in her gaze. Liam nodded immediately, understanding dawning in his eyes, a mirroring warmth. "Of course, Elara," he said, his voice gentle and full of support. "Let's get this sweet girl home. Looks like she just needed the right person." An hour later, they were back at Elara's house. Oreo, still cautious, but visibly more relaxed, was slowly exploring her new surroundings, sniffing at the legs of chairs and tentatively batting at a dust bunny under the couch. Elara watched her new pet, a profound sense of purpose and belonging settling over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced so strongly in a long, long time. "Thank you," she said softly to Liam, turning to him, her voice thick with genuine emotion. "For everything today has been incredible. And for Oreo. She's perfect." Liam moved closer, his hand finding hers, his touch a gentle, reassuring squeeze. "Elara," he said, his voice low and serious, all traces of the playful tour guide gone, replaced by a deep sincerity. "There's something I need to tell you." Elara felt her heart rate pick up, a sudden, familiar surge of adrenaline. This was it. The moment she'd been dreading yet also, in a strange, hopeful way, yearning for. The moment of truth. The sudden seriousness in Liam's voice, the intensity in his gaze, sent a ripple of apprehension through Elara. Her heart, already beating a little faster from the excitement of adopting Oreo, now thumped a frantic rhythm against her ribs. This was it, she knew. The conversation that had been a silent, ever-present weight in her chest since they first met. She braced herself, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach, even as a fragile thread of hope, irrational yet persistent, coiled within her. Oreo, as if sensing the shift in atmosphere, had curled up on the rug at Elara's feet, a tiny, comforting presence. "I know we haven't known each other long, Elara," Liam continued, his thumb gently stroking the back of her hand, his eyes never leaving hers. "But I feel a connection with you that I can't quite explain. It's different from anything I've felt before." He paused, taking a deep, visible breath, as if steeling himself for his own confession. "You're kind and funny, and you have this incredible warmth that just draws people in. You're brave, clearly, after today with the dog. And you're beautiful, Elara. Inside and out." His words, delivered with such heartfelt sincerity, were a balm to Elara's soul, a gentle warmth spreading through her. They were everything she longed to hear, everything she hoped to be. But the weight of her secret, the truth she carried, pressed down on her, creating a suffocating pressure. How could she accept such genuine praise, such profound interest, knowing she hadn't given him the full picture? The thought felt like a betrayal. Liam's gaze softened further, his eyes full of earnest emotion. "I like you, Elara. A lot. More than I probably should, given how little time we've known each other. And I'd like to see where this could go if you're interested too." Elara felt tears prick at her eyes, a complex mix of joy and profound sorrow. Joy, because his words resonated so deeply, affirming a desire for connection she hadn't dared to fully acknowledge. Sorrow, because the very truth that made her Elara was also the truth that felt like a barrier, a potential deal-breaker. She wanted this, wanted it so badly it was a physical ache in her chest. But the unspoken truth, the foundation of her new life, felt like a towering wall between them. "Liam," she began, her voice trembling slightly, barely a whisper. She pulled her hand gently from his, needing the small space, the distance, to gather her courage. "There's something you should know about me. Something that might change how you feel." Her heart was pounding now, a frantic drum in her ears. This was it. The moment of reckoning. Liam's expression, previously open and hopeful, grew concerned. He took a small step closer, his brow furrowing gently. "You can tell me anything, Elara," he said, his voice firm, unwavering. "Whatever it is, it won't change how I feel about you." His conviction was palpable, a steady anchor in Elara's tumultuous emotions. He was offering her an unconditional acceptance before he even knew what he was accepting. Elara took a deep, shuddering breath, the air feeling heavy in her lungs. She looked down at Oreo, who had now stretched out, seemingly oblivious, then back up at Liam, whose gaze was unwavering, patient, and full of a quiet strength. This was the man who had looked at her with genuine admiration, who had made her feel welcome, who had seen past her carefully constructed new identity to the person beneath. She owed him the truth. She needed him to see all of her, even the parts that scared her to reveal. "I'm transgender," she said, the words tumbling out in a rush, a torrent she could no longer hold back. Each syllable felt heavy, weighty with years of unspoken truth, of hidden identity. I transitioned recently. That's why I moved here, to Willow Creek. For a fresh start. To finally live as myself, as Elara." She held her breath, her chest tight, waiting for the flicker of surprise to turn to confusion, to disgust, to rejection. Waiting for the warmth in his eyes to cool, for the understanding to drain away, for the subtle step back that would signify the end of this fragile, beautiful connection they had begun to build. Every instinct screamed at her to prepare for the inevitable. The silence that followed her confession, though only a few seconds long, stretched into an agonizing eternity. The silence that followed Elara's confession was not the crushing, condemning silence she had braced herself for. Instead, it was a soft, almost reverent hush, broken only by the gentle tick of the antique clock in the hallway and the contented purring of Oreo at her feet. Elara kept her gaze locked on Liam's face, searching for any telltale sign of rejection, a tightening of his jaw, a hardening of his eyes, a subtle distancing of his body language. But there was none. To her utter surprise, he simply squeezed her hand gently again, his thumb rubbing soothingly over her knuckles. His honey-colored eyes, far from showing shock or disgust, were instead filled with an even deeper warmth, a profound understanding that seemed to reach into the deepest parts of her soul. "Thank you," he said softly, his voice a steady, comforting murmur, "for trusting me with that, Elara. Thank you for telling me your truth." He paused, his gaze unwavering. "It doesn't change anything for me. Not about who you are, not about how I feel." He took another slow breath, a faint smile gracing his lips. "It just adds to the story of the incredibly strong, brave, and beautiful woman I'm getting to know. And if anything, it makes me admire you even more, Elara. I like you for who you are, all of you. Every part of your journey has made you exactly who you are today." The tears Elara had been holding back, the ones that had been pricking at her eyes since Liam's initial confession, now spilled over. They traced hot, silent paths down her cheeks, not tears of sorrow or fear, but of an overwhelming, profound relief. It was as if a monumental weight, one she hadn't even fully realized she was carrying, had suddenly been lifted from her shoulders. His acceptance, so immediate, so unconditional, was a cleansing balm to years of hidden anxieties and unacknowledged fears. Liam, without a moment's hesitation, pulled her into a gentle, tender embrace. His arms wrapped around her, strong and reassuring, holding her close as she quietly sobbed into his shoulder. It wasn't a passionate embrace, but one of deep comfort and unwavering support, a silent promise of safety and understanding. He simply held her, letting her release the years of pent-up emotion, rubbing her back in slow, soothing circles until her quiet sobs subsided into soft sniffles. When she finally pulled back, a little tear-streaked but feeling lighter than air, Liam cupped her face in his hands. His thumbs gently wiped away the last of her tears, his touch tender and infinitely kind. His eyes, still full of that beautiful, unwavering warmth, searched hers. "You're amazing, Elara," he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper, "and I'd be honored if you'd let me take you on a proper date. A real one. Where we can just be us. No more big revelations for the night, unless you want to, of course." He winked playfully, a glint of his earlier charm returning, but now underscored with a deeper intimacy. Elara laughed, a watery, joyful sound, full of a happiness so pure it felt almost overwhelming. "I'd like that," she replied, her voice still a little wobbly but brimming with sincerity. "I'd like that very, very much, Liam." In that moment, standing in her new living room, with her new cat purring softly at her feet and the kind, accepting man she was falling for holding her face in his hands, Elara felt a profound sense of peace. The fears that had shadowed her journey, the anxieties about revealing her truth, had been met not with rejection, but with love and understanding. She was seen, truly seen, and accepted completely. Her fresh start in Willow Creek had just become so much more than she had ever dared to dream. The following days unfolded with a radiant lightness Elara hadn't known was possible. The unspoken weight that had resided in her chest for so long had vanished, replaced by a joyful buoyancy. She still found herself checking her phone, but now it was with excited anticipation for Liam's texts, not nervous dread. Their conversations, which had always flowed easily, now carried an added layer of intimacy and trust. They talked for hours, sharing more stories, more dreams, and more quiet truths. Liam, true to his word, called to arrange their proper date. He didn't make a big show of it, but his deliberate planning and thoughtful suggestions spoke volumes. He proposed a quiet dinner at a charming Italian restaurant on the outskirts of Willow Creek, a place known for its cozy atmosphere and delicious, homemade pasta. Elara accepted with a thrill, spending the day preparing, not just her outfit, but her heart. She chose a simple, elegant black dress, something that made her feel confident and beautiful, a reflection of the woman she was truly becoming. The date was everything she could have hoped for. Liam arrived promptly, a single, perfect rose in hand, his smile as warm and inviting as ever. Over candlelight, they talked and laughed, the conversation weaving effortlessly between light-hearted banter and deeper, more meaningful exchanges. Elara felt completely at ease, able to be her authentic self without any reservation. She found herself sharing more about her past, not with the trepidation she once felt, but with a newfound sense of openness, knowing that Liam's acceptance was a constant, steady presence. He listened intently, his gaze unwavering, asking thoughtful questions that demonstrated genuine curiosity and empathy. There was no judgment, only understanding and a quiet admiration for her journey. As the evening drew to a close, Liam walked Elara back to her front door. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the comforting scent of night-blooming jasmine. Under the soft glow of her porch light, he took her hands, his touch warm and reassuring. "Elara," he said, his voice low and tender, "tonight was incredible. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself with me. You're truly an extraordinary woman." He leaned in, and this time, there was no hesitation, no sudden interruption. His kiss was gentle, sweet, and filled with a profound promise of affection and respect. It was a kiss that sealed their burgeoning connection, a silent affirmation of a future they were now building together. Back inside, Elara leaned against the closed door, a radiant smile lighting up her face. She touched her fingers lightly to her lips, still tingling from Liam's kiss. The once empty house now felt like a home, imbued with warmth and a vibrant energy. Oreo, her new feline companion, emerged from the shadows of the living room, her tail held high, a confident swagger in her step. The tiny black and white cat, once so fearful, had fully embraced her new surroundings. She jumped onto the couch, then onto Elara's lap, purring loudly as Elara stroked her soft fur. Oreo's transformation from a terrified shelter cat to a confident, affectionate pet mirrored Elara's own journey. Both had found safety, comfort, and unconditional love in Willow Creek. Elara looked around her living room, now filled with subtle personal touches, a small collection of framed photographs she'd taken, a soft throw blanket draped over the armchair, the delicate purple flower Mrs. Henderson had given her, now carefully pressed in a small frame. This was her space, her home, her new life. And it was beautiful. For the first time in a very long while, Elara looked towards the future not with apprehension or uncertainty, but with a deep, abiding sense of hope. She had found not just a new town, but a community, a friend, and a burgeoning love built on honesty, acceptance, and genuine connection. Willow Creek, with its quiet charm and kind-hearted residents, had truly given her the fresh start she craved, and so much more. The girl next door had indeed found her secret to happiness, and it was blossoming beautifully in the most unexpected of places.